There was a time, and I mean a real time, when being a young man about town was really quite simple. You didn't need a finance agreement stretching off decades into the future. You didn't need Nürburgring lap times, and you certainly didn't need 600 brake horsepower. No, what you needed was a pair of stone-washed denim jeans, the latest Duran Duran album on cassette tape, and a good healthy dose of Brute splashed all over. And parked outside the nightclub would be a stylish coupe. Because coupes were cool, because they looked fast, and crucially, they made you look fast. Whether or not they were fast, well, that didn't really seem to matter. And now one of them's back. After a 25-year absence, we now have the 6th generation of the Honda Prelude, reimagined for this new age of electrification. Question is though, is it still going to work? Let's find out. As I say, welcome to another new car review, welcome to the new Honda Prelude. Please sit yourself down and make yourself comfortable in the House of Stringfellows. So yes, the Prelude is back. After a 25-year absence, we now have a 6th generation of Honda's stylish coupe. But it's a very different Prelude to maybe what we used to think about, because underneath the bonnet here, there's no high-revving VTEC engine, there's no manual gearbox. Instead, what we have is a focus on hybrid drivetrain and efficiency, which makes it sound a little bit more like a Grand Tourer. But maybe that's no bad thing, because like I say, coupes were never really about going fast. And the Prelude especially was all about innovation. And that's exactly what this car delivers. But it was also about emotion. So let's see if this new 6th generation Prelude can deliver on both. But before we get into the full road test review, here are 5 quick key facts that any potential buyer is going to need to know about Honda's new Prelude. So like I say, this is the 6th generation Prelude, returning after 25 years, but now with hybrid power. It has a 2-litre e-HEV system with 184 PS and 315 Newton meters of torque. It also features Honda's new S Plus shift, which simulates an 8-speed gearbox. It does feature, however, adaptive dampers and a Civic Type R inspired chassis technology. And coupe styling is abound with genuine practicality, with up to 663 litres of boot space. But here's the important question. In a world that seems obsessed with brake horsepower figures and 0 to 62 times and Nürburgring lap times, is there still a place for a car like the Prelude? A car that sacrifices speed for style and concentrates more on feel than actual substance? Well, let's stick it through a House of Cars road test review and find out. And if that sounds good to you and you want to know more about all the latest new cars to hit the UK market from a buyer's perspective, then you'll want to make sure that you are subscribed to the House of Cars channel and that your notifications are turned on so you don't miss the next one when it's uploaded and it's gone live. Right, let's take a deeper dive into the Prelude and find out what's really going on. Now, normally on road test reviews we do start with design, and it's crucial to start with design here because we're talking about a coupe, and that is exactly what a coupe is about. Like I said at the start, it is all about being stylish, it's all about looking good. And boy, have I think Honda have nailed this brief. They really do. It's long, it's low, it's wide, it looks sleek. There's nothing controversial about it. It's a really elegant looking shape I think they've managed to get with the new Prelude. And the Prelude's never been the prettiest of coupes, if I'm being blunt about it. There've been some good looking ones, but the 5th generation one I think looked a bit awkward and a bit gawky at times. This I think looks like the 4th generation car, which I thought was a really good looking car. But I think they've managed to nail this really well. They say it's inspired by a glider, and I genuinely can see almost what they mean. There is almost like a wing front to it. It's a little bit like Toyota's Hammerhead front end, isn't it? You know, the way that this nose cone spears into the light unit here. Although the light doesn't wrap completely around it. You've got the stylish LED daytime running lights there, and then the main LED headlamps just there, you know, below it to the side there. But it's this low pointed sleek nose to it. It gives it this real sort of like stylish, you know, look to the car. Now there's It's various colours you can have the car in. Black is the standard colour of all things. Black's normally a cost option. Black's the standard colour. And I think there's 3-4 other colours. This is Moonlit White Pearl, which is a £700 option. And I think it's worth it, because this car has got so many admiring glances this week that I've been using the car. People really looking at it and coming up to it and just taking a proper good look at it. And I think Honda have absolutely nailed this in one. There's some gloss black down at the bottom there that contrasts obviously neatly with the white. That's why I quite like the lighter colour on it rather than the black, because it just highlights this and just helps accentuate, bring that nose in even sharper and make it look really pointed at the front. Of course, you get your Honda badge front and centre there as well, and then its low sleek bonnet that just goes into that sort of like windscreen and takes the airflow up over the top of the car. There's obviously some cooling down at the bottom there, which is handy, and then a little central spine where you've got this little blue flash through it, and you'll see that blue around the rest of the car, which is obviously their nod towards the electrification. But yeah, I tell you what, when you first see it, boy does this car catch your eye. Now, it's just over 4.5 metres long with a 2.6 metre wheelbase. It's actually based on the Civic chassis. The old Preludes, I think, were more kind of Accord size, but of course cars have grown since we had the last Prelude, so it does sort of like fill the gap, that the footprint, if you like, that you would have had from a traditional Prelude. 1.3 metres high, so again, like, it's low and sleek. I think it's 1.83 metres wide as well. So I say it's got a real stance to it. It looks good on the road. 19-inch alloy wheels are standard. They are black, and again, I'm not a lover of black wheels, but I don't mind them too much on this car. I think it does look good. What does help, of course, is you've got this lovely electric blue Brembo brake caliper nestled behind these 19-inch gloss black alloys, which look really quite stylish. And again, just that little nod to with the blue colour gives you a nod to that electrification. Or at least I think that's what they're doing with that. But look at it, there's no fancy big creases or controversial slashes or gashes down the side of it that you might get from some other cars. This low, long, flowing, sleek, fast back to it, exactly as you expect from a coupe. Big door mirrors, but of course that's a legal requirement. And of course the car's got a lot of tech on it, which we'll talk about. There's this lovely little air vent there. Obviously it takes the airflow out of the wheel arch, the pressure out of there, and then just puts it down the side of the car. And again, that gloss black side sill that just gives it a little bit of a curve out, a kick out at the bottom to like give it a bit of a skirt, and just makes the car just appear a little bit more sort of like hunkered down on the road. You get these pop-out door handles, which are very similar to the Jaguar did on the F-Type. The only thing that was a slight disappointment was no frameless windows, no frameless doors. I thought that might have been quite a nice touch, but it's actually got a framed door. Never mind, there we go. But yeah, a long flowing sort of like sleek end, rear end to the car there. And as I say, nothing silly on it, nothing that's not needed. You know, there's nothing superfluous there. Everything's there for a reason, but most of it is just to look really good, which it does. And of course, all truncates into this lovely, sleek rear end to the car. I really like this line here that just comes up there and then flows into the deck lid here. And of course, you get this light bar across. For some reason, it just reminds me a little bit of the Porsche Taycan. Don't know why, but it just sort of does. Just this area here. But I think it looks really stylish, I do. Now, like I said, there's more of a flowing fastback to the car. You can have an optional rear spoiler on it. And my friend Tish from over on Auto Social UK, her opinion is the car should have that as standard. I'm of the other way. I don't like it at all. I think this cleaner, uncluttered look suits the car better. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Of course, you see, you get this lovely light bar that stretches all the way across the car, really thin, really sleek, and again gives a really nice light signature at night. You get the Honda script across the back. You don't get the H badge like you do in the front, but I don't mind it so much. As much as I don't like manufacturers spelling their name across the back of the car, the Honda font, I think it's quite nice. It's quite modern. It looks quite good, I think. But I do love this Prelude badge there, this little squiggled Prelude badge across the back on the top of the bumper there. I really like that. And of course, we've got some tech on it. We've got reverse camera as you'd expect, reversing sensors. Again, that little flash of blue just in that bit of the diffuser there, the gloss black diffuser down at the bottom, helping to sort of pull in the rear bodywork and make it look low and sleek like it does. There's a really nice integrated high level brake light just at the top of the window there, just with that gloss black rear sort of spoiler, if you like, where the rear of the roof meets. And I just think it looks fantastic. I think it's just sleek and stylish and subtle. It's a very elegant looking car, and Preludes have never always looked elegant, not to my eyes anyway. But look, that's my opinion. What's yours? Did you used to have an old Prelude? Have you still got it? What do you think of the new one? Have they stayed true to the brand name of Prelude, do you think? Or do you feel they should maybe have gone a bit more aggressive with a Type R styling, you know, sort of, you know, big body kits and big, you know, Mugen style sort of like spoilers and things like that? Or are you like me? Do you prefer this more subtle Grand Tour or this more stylish look to the new Prelude? Whatever it is, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Now, practicality of coupes. Here's the thing about it. Always people say, oh, you pay more but get less, you know, because most coupes, going back to sort of like my era, if you like the 80s and early 90s and stuff, most of them were based on a medium-sized sort of like saloon car. So things like the Ford Kuga was based on the Mondeo, the Calibra from Vauxhall was based on the Cavalier's platform, and as I say, Prelude was sort of similar size to Accord, that type of thing. But of course, you didn't get the rear doors, you didn't get the big rear seats, but you used to always get a relatively practical boot on them. So have we still got a practical boot? Well, yeah, I think you do. Now, Honda quotes 663 litres, but that's for the rear seats folded down, because you can fold the bench down. It goes down in one whole bench, it just folds flat. But of course, if you don't want to do that, and you want to use the rear seats, or you prefer not having them folded like I do, and just putting jackets and things on them, then that's fine. You still get quite a big boot on the car. Now, there's no fixed parcel shelf as such, it's not attached to anything here. What you get is this sort of blind that you can then just take off, you know, it just sort of collapses down like that and you can sort of fold it up and probably store it under the boot floor. But if I just chuck it in there, watch this. Now I've got my 4 suitcases here. I don't know the actual capacity with the actual seat up, I must admit. I'll try and find that out for us. But if I put in a medium-sized suitcase, let me put it this way, in there. And let's put in our 2 carry-ons. Hang on, I'll put that one down on that side there, and then that one on the top of it. And there's our large suitcase. See if we get this in this way. Look! The 4 suitcases fit in the back of the Prelude. Of course, the downside, as I keep reaching down there for it, but it's there. The downside, of course, is you've got quite a high sill to lift that over. But that is pretty decent, and that's not folding down the rear seats. So 4 suitcases, a large, a medium, and 2 carry-ons go in the back of the Prelude without having to do anything silly like fold seat down and compromise on rear space, if you can call it space. Now, normally when I do a car review, obviously I jump in the back of the car and show you what it's like in the rear seat space, you know, behind myself as a driving position. But, well, I'm 52 and fat and can't do this with this car. Not very well anyway, certainly not elegantly. So with the aid of my wonderful assistants here, she's going to help me out. Right, Katie, we're going to see what the back of the Honda Prelude is like. Because let's be honest, it's probably going to be kids that you put in there, isn't it? So, hang on a second, let me flip the camera around. Right, here we go. Lift that up, that's it, and then you jump in. Right, now, that's my driving position. How do you feel in the back of the car?
It's actually pretty spacious when you think about it. For instance, I can like do that in it, and I still have space, and it feels spacious because of this.
Headroom? Good, yeah. Do that again so I can get it on camera. There you go, perfect. And what's legroom like?
Legroom is okay. For instance, if someone's a bit taller, I have a friend who's a little bit taller, she'd probably be able to fit in the back of this.
She wouldn't?
She would.
She would. Oh, that's good to know then. So you can fit behind my driving position and I'm 5'8".
Yes.
Perfect, great. Katie, thank you ever so much for helping with that demonstration.
Always.
Interior. Now, in previous Honda's reviews that I've done, I've been both a fan of Honda interiors and a critic of certain elements of them, mostly around about the infotainment screen, and I'm going to talk about that in a little second here. This, for me, this interior just really, really works. And I've lived with this car for, it'll be a week tomorrow, this car got delivered at the time of filming. And I haven't used it for a couple of days, but for the first sort of 3-4 days I had the car, I did nearly 1,000 miles in it. I've been really, really busy this week, and I've really got used to this interior, and I've got used to its usability. And I have to say, that isn't so much of a problem for me now. but we'll go on to talk about that in a wee second. What you've got is a screen for your driver's display, which is 10.2 inches, and you get 2 dials in it. You get it's not really a rev counter, it's a power meter, if you like, on the left hand side. It's not unlike what Rolls-Royce do. You get a percentage of power with a charge symbol on it as well, and then you've got a speedo on the right. You've also then got a digital speedo right centre in there, an actual numerical speedo as well. And you can configure it to a certain amount. You can sort of like change what you see on the right hand cluster, the right hand gauge there. I've got it set up as the trip meter, but you can show navigation in there. You can have a G meter if you really want. Don't know why you'd want it. You know, various different bits and pieces in there. On the left, it'll display you know, what you're listening to, obviously, on, you know, your media and things like that. And then you've got all your ancillary bits around about your you know, in terms of your temperature, your gear shift indication, your odometer, that type of thing. The really clear, really easy to use. As I say, you can change it a little bit. There's a bit of configuration available, not a huge amount, but you can change bits of it depending obviously on what you want to see. There's probably just enough for most people. And as I say, having lived with the car, having used it like normal people will use it, I have to say it works really well. 2 column stalks. They're exactly as you expect. You get lights and indicators on the left, you get wipers on the right. Simple as that. Lovely steering wheel, leather wrap steering wheel with a blue stitch through it, a little bit Alcantara at the top centre marker. I'm surprised they didn't do that in the blue. That would have been quite nice to have done in the blue, which would really tighten the rest of the car. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. But physical controls on the steering wheel as well. And 2 paddles behind there as well. Now, we're going to talk about the paddles in the technical section, so I'll leave that for now. There's a button on the steering wheel to turn off the lane keep assist, but I cannot for the life of me find a button to turn off the speed limit warning. Now, if you have a Honda, and I've looked everywhere, I genuinely have, and I can't find it. I'm sure there is one, and if I'm just being really stupid and old, then please just put in the comments where it is. Don't confirm that I'm stupid and old, because I know I am, but just tell me where it is, because it's driving me mad. The thing I will say about it is, however, it's not that intrusive a beep. So all I tend to have been doing is just turning the, not that I've been speeding, of course, but you know what I mean. I just turn the radio up a little bit, so it doesn't really matter too much. But I can't find it for the life of me where it is. Which brings me neatly onto this screen here, which is this 9-inch infotainment screen. And in previous reviews I've said Honda getting a bit left behind with this infotainment screen. They are and they're not. Because, as I say, having done so many miles in the car and having just sort of like lived with it and just used it like normal people use it, it does everything you need it to do, in fairness. And most people will probably just default to the, you know, Apple CarPlay and Android, which I have. I've just let it go into Apple CarPlay. I'm only leaving it as this so that you can see what's in there. But, you know, there are better screens. There are better infotainment systems from other manufacturers. However, it does work and it does everything you sort of need it to do. There's physical buttons down the side of it. So you've got a home button here. You've got a back button, you've got physical volume knob and track search there as well. You can see there you've got various different tiles to go into different things. So you can change what you need to see there. See, things like vehicle, I better find it now. Wait till you see this, I better find it. Vehicle settings. Road departure, lane keep assist, blind spot information, speed limit change sign beep. No, that's not the same thing. That's just when it changes. Yeah, see, it's not there. I don't know where it is. The speed limit sign change beep is off. So that just tells you when the actual speed limit changes. And you've got to remember press that back button. So there, yeah, it's not in there. Yeah, see, it's not me. I just can't seem to find it. Meter setup, is that it? No. I really went through it and I really can't find it at all. So I'm not going to keep going on about this. But you can see there, you go in and change various different bits and pieces as to what you actually want to see. It's okay. It does the job, like I say. You know, there are better screens out there in various other cars. But if you just get in the car, let your Apple CarPlay log on and do the thing, it does what you need it to do. It's also up in your line of sight, which is nice. You know, it's not down here. And you don't control everything through it, because as you can see, there's still a lot of buttons in the car. And because it's a Honda, the buttons are beautiful. I love Honda buttons. I really do. I don't know if you can... Oh, the click of that temperature dial. Oh, it's so lovely. It really just clicks. And it's just a joy. It really is. And even just the other buttons, the things like the drive mode button, it's got a nice action to it as well. When you press the S plus button there, the engines just come on. We'll talk about this in the technical section. When you press that, It's got a nice damped feel to it. You know, the electric handbrake, the transmission buttons, they all just work beautifully. And one of the big criticisms I had on the Lotus Emira that I drove the other week was the paddles just felt innocuous. They just didn't do anything. This is how you do paddles, Lotus. You know, they just, oh, they've got such a lovely spring action to them. Oh, it's lovely. Thank you, Honda. The other thing as well is, look at these little joysticks. This reminds me of my old Saab 9.5s that I used to have. The little joysticks to move the air vents. Beautiful. And the air vents themselves are lovely. This sort of cross-hatched air vent here. It's not unlike the Civic, but I think the Civic from memory goes right across the dash, whereas these have got 4 individual, well, 3, and then your centre one there, you know, one at either side and a centre one there. And then you've got this material here, which is not Alcantara and not leather. It's sort of Alcather. I don't know what it is, but it's there. It's man-made, obviously, and you've got the stitch through it, the blue stitch and the white stitch, and then the Prelude script in blue, and it runs down the centre console as well, and it just feels good. I love it. And everything feels as solid as a rock. You know, the spongy dashboard, the plastic, you know, toggles there, the buttons, as I say, the centre console doesn't move. It just feels, it feels so good. Armrest clicks into place. Even the sort of like the padding down the armrests of the doors as well. You know, it just all feels like it's built to last, which is exactly like a Honda should do, and it probably will last, in fairness. So the layout's very, very intuitive. That does enough, okay? I appreciate I've criticised it in the past. It could be better. If you're into more techie things, I'm sure you could find more fault with it, but it does what it needs to do, and it's in your line of sight. And actually, because the rest of it is so well configured and so well done out, you know, sort of, you know, touching the buttons to do your aircon and things like that, you know, it just works. It's just such a lovely interior to spend time in. The seats are really comfortable as well. You know, they've got a nice bit of padding on them. There's only one model, we'll talk about it in the price, but there's only one model. There's the advanced trim level, so it's pretty much all your equipment comes as standard. There's no real options in here. It's a bit dark. You know, it would maybe be nice to have seen maybe a glass roof, even if it was just a fixed pane, you know, across like a sort of old style sunroof, but it's not been a massive problem. But that's maybe the only criticism I could maybe mention, that it just feels a little bit dark in here. But otherwise, I can't complain about it at all. Everything's the way you expect to find it, and it just all works. There's a bit of piano black, and this is maybe, again, I'm splitting hairs here now because it's just grouped around about the transmission there and a bit in the steering wheel. I would personally have done it this grey metallic plastic finish you get around the vents and door handles. I don't know maybe why they didn't do that there, because again, that looks nice and it's solid, it feels good, and because it's just a small area. But again, I've just got there's loads of dust on it and fingerprints, obviously, because this is where you push and press. You know, so why put piano black where you push and press? Because it's going to get fingerprints on it. But I mean, again, I'm really splitting hairs with that. There's a wireless charging pad down in there, which is nice. That just sort of like, you know, sits, your phone just sits in there. There's 2 cup holders in here. I don't have my big Yeti flask with me today, but the water bottle I was using the other day, that, you know, there's 2 of those. Plus there's a door. There's a slot in the door bin as well for an extra water bottle on both doors. The door bins themselves are actually quite big. They go back quite a bit, so you've got enough space in there. I've got my sunglasses in there as well. That's perfect. There's a centre box in there that you'll get a decent sized packet M&Ms in, so that's absolutely fine. And we also have a glove box where you can obviously get the rather large owner's manual in. I love it. I really do. I love it because, you see, I appreciate it's not, you know, modern and techy and things like that, which I do like on certain cars. And as I say, I appreciate, I've been a critic of Honda's infotainment screen before, but because it works as well as it does, just on an everyday basis, and it's easy to use and just easy to get on with, I can't fault it. I just can't fault, other than to say the bit of the piano black there, and it feels a bit dark. That's the only thing I can really say. Equipment level's high, you know, you get a Bose sound system, you get driver attention monitor, you get good seats, you get Apple CarPlay or Android Auto that's wireless, you get Bluetooth, you get wireless charging pads, you get heated seats, cruise control. What more do you want, really? It's a good interior, it's well thought out, it's well built, and it's easy to use. So from that basis, you can't fault it. Now this is where things get quite interesting. This is Honda's eHev system, which basically comprises of a 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine, a battery and 2 electric motors. One of those motors is designed to create electricity, which then feeds the battery, which then feeds the motor. The other one provides traction to the wheels. What does the engine do? Well, the engine also does effectively the same thing. Don't think about this as a petrol engine car with electric assistance. In some respects, what it actually is an electric car with its own onboard generator. It's very few times the petrol engine itself is actually driving the wheels. It's there to act as a generator to create electricity for the battery, which then feeds the motor, which actually does drive the wheels. Let me explain. There are 3 modes in the car. There's EV drive mode, first of all, which is exactly what it sounds like. The electric motor is actually driving the front wheels. The petrol engine is doing nothing at this point. It's shut down. So this is things like stop-start traffic, creeping around at town, parking speeds, that type of thing. Then you have hybrid drive, and in hybrid drive that's where the engine kicks in, but it's not driving the wheels. The electric motor is still driving the wheels. That is creating the electricity that feeds the electric motor, enabling it to drive the wheels. Then you have engine drive, where a clutch then locks the engine into the actual drivetrain, where the engine is assisting the motors to drive the wheels. So in other words, higher motorway speeds, acceleration, you're maybe on a nice favourite twisty road and you're really getting a bit of a shuffle on, that type of thing. So that's the 3 modes that the car actually goes through, and it works really, really well. So you've got the benefit of an electric car, which is that smooth, instantaneous torque. You've also got the clean running of an electric car in that sense, but without any of the anxieties, without any of the hang-ups that some people still have about EVs, because all you do is add petrol into it. You don't need to plug this in. It's not plug-in hybrid. It's just a hybrid system. So all you do is put unleaded petrol in it and go about your business, and the car sorts itself out. Now, it's more efficient as well, and it's better for fuel economy. How well does it perform? Well, Honda quote 54 miles to the gallon on a combined cycle. And I'll tell you now, I've seen 54 miles to the gallon out of this car. In fact, in the 760 odd miles I've done in this car so far, I've averaged just over 51 miles to the gallon on that. And that was 2 days of pure motorway driving on the car. So again, maybe some lower speed town work and things like that, that pushes it well above that 54 miles to the gallon. This is a really good system, and it really does work well. Maybe the only downside from it, in that sense, if we're thinking about a sporty coupe, you may want something a little bit more, performance orientated. But as we'll see when we go out and drive it, Honda have thought about that as well. So let's jump in and go for a drive and explain a bit more about what that side of it's like. Oh, there's a lot to talk about with this car, especially the way that it drives. So let me try and be as concise as I possibly can, which is going to be difficult for me because I do like to chat. What have we got? Well, we've got 184 PS, 310 Newton meters of torque, and a 0 to 62 time of 8.2 seconds. And you're all going to sit there and go, oh, that's not very fast, Brian. Not for a sporty Honda. You're right, it's not. But here's the key with this car. It's not designed to be fast, it's designed to feel fast. And it actually does. What Honda have done here is something really quite clever. So this Honda eHev hybrid system, like I was saying earlier, you get the 3 modes, where the car starts off in purely electric mode, and then of course then you get your hybrid drive where the engine kicks in, but it's not powering the wheels, it's then just acting as a generator to feed power, electricity into the electric motor, which is driving the wheels. And then of course you've then got engine drive, as they call it, where there's a clutch that locks the engine into sort of like the drivetrain, and you get electric power and the combustion engine working together, which is for more higher speeds, motorway, things like that. And then you're going to say, well, that's fine, Brian, but they've tried something similar to a sporty hybrid coupe before in the old CRZ, and that didn't feel very sporty. You're right, it didn't. However, they've got this, which is called S Plus Shift. Now, there isn't a conventional gearbox in this car, but the car pretends there is one once you've pressed this button. So once I press this button, I now have a simulated 8-speed gearbox, which I can control through the 2 paddles behind the steering wheel. Now, normally these are there to control levels of brake regeneration, but now they're changed to be gear shift paddles. And what you now have is it combines the motor torque with the engine revs and the throttle response to simulate an 8-speed gearbox. Yes, it's fake, but yes, it works. And it does feel a lot quicker than the bare numbers suggest. So you downshift with the one on the left, you upshift with the one on the right. And it's a much nicer shift than you got on something like that DCT equipped Lotus Emira that was driving, because I say the paddles have got a positive movement to them. So when you pull back on one, and then the gauge here blips, so you get that simulated engine blip. Even on an upshift, there's almost a little interruption of torque where you feel a gear change happen. It's really rather good. I'm genuinely quite impressed by this. Yes, it's fake, but why not? Why not have a bit of fun with it? And that's what I think is the brilliance with this car. There is a little bit of fun to be had with it if you want it. If you don't, it's fine. Press the button again and it goes back to doing its normal stuff, and it just drives around like a hybrid. So you are getting the best of both worlds. And like I said earlier, it is a car that feels faster than the numbers do suggest, especially when you're in that S plus shift mode, if you like. Talking of modes, there's also a drive mode button here. So you get your usual comfort, sport, individual, but the normal mode that it flips into is GT mode. And that sort of tells you where this car is best suited to. Now, earlier this week, I had a couple of press launches to go on. I had a new Cherry Tiggo 4 launch to do, which wasn't particularly very far. It was up in Oxfordshire. But then the next day, I had to drive all the way to Northumberland near Newcastle for the new Polestar 3. And I took this car. And it is a phenomenally good long-distance cruiser. That is exactly what this Prelude is all about. It was such an effortless drive in this car. You're still sitting in this low-slung sporty coupe, but you've got, as I say, this long-legged even Grand Tourer that this car then becomes. But then when you come off the motorway and you've got the little back roads in Northumberland, sorry, that's just the blind spot monitoring there, the back roads in Northumberland, you can really engage with the car, and that's a lot down to its chassis as well. So you've got a chassis derived from the Civic Type R. It has adaptive dampers and it has a multi-link setup at the rear end. This is a beautifully engaging chassis, and they've tuned the spring and dampers on it just right for me. It doesn't feel floaty, but it doesn't feel harsh. It's just got that absolutely just right sort of like bandwidth in between, where you can feel the road surface, you can feel imperfections in the surface, you know exactly where the wheels are, you know exactly what the springs and dampers are doing, but it's not intrusive. It doesn't all of a sudden crash into a big bump. You know the bump's there, you can feel it, but it doesn't jar you and jolt you around. And that's something that I think Honda as an engineering company are so good at doing. So that sort of like chassis work combined with this new sort of like S plus shift, as fake as it is, and actually a really well performing sort of like power unit and electric motor, all combined actually makes something a lot better than you think it's going to be on paper. And that's why if you're looking at this car, you need to go for a drive in it, because it is a lot better. So see, if you just sit and look at the spec sheet and go, oh no, that's not going to be for me, that's not going to tick my box. Don't get me wrong, it's not a Civic Type R, that's not what it's meant to be. But it is more engaging than something like the old Honda CRZ and some of the other hybrids that you'll find on the marketplace. Other things to discuss. Brakes, like I say, if you're in the standard drive mode, then you've got brake regeneration, which is done via the paddles. See? And then there's nothing behind me. And it brings it up to a very slow creep. That's it. It doesn't one pedal driving in the sense of stopping and holding it, but the strongest regen setting is strong enough that it brings the car right down to a slow creep. Or on the motorway, you can take it completely off, lift off, and the car will now coast, and that helps with the efficiency of it. So that's good, you've got that adaptability. Like I said, if you view the car more like an electric car with its own onboard power generator, that's a better way to understand it. but I also don't want you to think that it's an EV, because if you're dead set against EVs, you might dismiss the Prelude, and to dismiss it would be a bad thing in my book, because this is a really good car. I really like how this car drives. It's smooth, it's quiet, it's comfortable, yet it's engaging enough. And that balance is something that only somebody like Honda could really achieve, and they've achieved it well with this car. I think there's going to be an element of people don't like the fakery, and I do understand that. I do get it, but maybe those are the people that would never really have looked at the Prelude in the first place. I'm not sure. The steering is lovely, really nice. It really is lovely. It's beautifully light at parking speeds. It's a very manoeuvrable car, and yet when you get it out on the open road, and as I say, some of the twisted roads I've been on this week, you know, it's just the roll of the wrist, and you're just pouring the car into the corner, and that does really, really well. Again, it's not the most razor sharp handling car out there, but bear in mind, as I say, that's not what this car's about. So as long as you sort of like have that in your mind, then that's perfect. What would be this car's shining sort of like standout feature? I think it is that sort of long-legged tourer. That's where I think if you're of an age where, I don't know, you maybe not quite got grandkids yet, but your kids are older enough that they're maybe off doing their own thing now, and you're, I don't know, maybe in a form of semi-retirement, you know, and you go for long driving holidays down to the south of France, or maybe into Europe or things like that. As we've seen from a practicality point of view, you've got more than enough space. From an efficiency point of view, the car's going to tick that box as well. But from a performance point of view, that's exactly where this car's best suited. Those long, sort of, you know, fast open air roads where you're not quite on it all the time, where you just take a little bit of a step back, and it's more about enjoying the journey rather than getting to the destination. If that's the type of driving you like, then the Prelude will be a great car for you. It really will. And for the times where you do want to get a little bit of a shift on, remember, as I say, you can quickly engage with it. See, I don't know if you can hear it, it's quite... And you just get that little, you can just feel a little, it's not a violent jolt, it's just a slight soft kick, if you like, a slightly soft interruption where you just feel like you're shifting gear yourself. And it's really good. Pop it into the sport mode when you're doing that. It doesn't make a vast difference, but again, it just feels a bit more engaging. And the engine note itself is really smooth and linear. And again, it feels faster than it actually is. And that's the point with the car. Now, if you think that's fake, as I say, if you think, oh, that's not for you, absolutely fine. Don't get me wrong, it won't be for everyone. But for me, I really like this car. I really enjoyed my time with this car. When it goes back, I am going to miss it, because for this week, the journeys that I've done in it, it's been such a great companion. It's comfortable, I'm sitting here, I've got a great driving position, I've got physical controls, everything works really well, it's slick, it's a Honda. It's exactly as you expect a Honda to be. It's easy to see out of, it's easy to park, it's comfortable, it's practical. It's great. That's what it is. It's really great. And I don't mind the fact that it's not some 300 brake horsepower Type R screamer. I really don't. I think Honda have judged this well, and what they've produced is something fantastic. It's really a really good car. And more than that, it's a brilliant Honda. And boy, have we been missing some brilliant Hondas of late. So how much is it? Well, it's a whisker under £41,000. There's only one model, the advanced model, which, as I say, this one is. Black is the standard colour finish on it, or you've got a choice of 3 other metallic paints. This is Moonlit White Pearl, and they're £700. There's a different choice of alloy wheels if you want them. There's a black pack you can add onto it, so it darkens down some of the chrome finishes on the car as well. And like I said, there's the option of the rear spoiler, which I personally wouldn't bother with. Yes, it's a shame it's not $39,995, but hey, it's not. But we've got to look at some positives from this. You're looking at probably low running costs and low overall ownership costs, thanks to that hybrid drivetrain system. And of course, being a Honda, and the fact that they're only bringing 500 Preludes into the UK every year, or that's their plan anyway, residuals should be quite good on the car as well. So the scarcity value of it should help residuals stay quite high, which means obviously in terms of financing deals and lease deals, they should be quite competitive. So yes, it's a shame it's not under 40 grand, but it's not, but there are benefits as well that you get with the Prelude. Right, this is the tricky one, isn't it? What's its rivals? Well, there's the BMW 2 Series Coupe. That's sort of it, isn't it, really, when you think about it? There isn't really any sort of like coupes around now. That's the problem. And that's maybe a good thing for Honda, you know, from that point of view. If you're a person that wants that traditional style of two-door coupe, then really you're not really faced with a raft of choice. And there's a lot to be said about what Honda have done with this car and keeping it like those old style coupes, but engineering it for a more modern world. So there's that. Of course, you've got other things such as the Alpine A110, the Porsche Cayman, but they are proper sports coupes that are much more expensive. You're not really going to see them as rivals. Maybe you might see some of those crossover coupe style of cars as a rival to it, but I'm not sure you do, because they've obviously still got the four doors. There's an element of SUV about them. They're heavier, they're bulkier. They're not really a coupe in the traditional sense, not like the Prelude was and now still is. And that's a nice thing I think that Honda have done. They haven't brought the Prelude back as an electric crossover like another manufacturer that's brought an old coupe name back. Toyota, however, they were in the coupe market with the GR86, which is now gone. But there are rumours abound that the Celica is coming back as a coupe, but it's going to be spun from a rally car. So I'm wondering whether or not that's going to be much more expensive, much more performance orientated. So yeah, if you want a standard old school style coupe, then it's really the Prelude or a 2 Series. So the new Honda Prelude, what do we think? Well, it's a coupe from the old school. In other words, it's a car that prioritises style, feel and presence over performance. And that's absolutely fine by me, because not every car has to be about numbers. No, it probably isn't the fastest thing out there, but that doesn't really matter. It's more about how the car makes you feel and how the car itself feels. And for me, the new Prelude feels special. It's beautifully designed, it's very easy to live with, and it's incredibly well engineered. And for the majority of people, that is what's going to matter more than anything else. Is it a little bit of style over substance? Probably. But you know what? With a coupe, style is the substance. And for many buyers out there, that's all that will matter. And for those people, that means the new Honda Prelude is going to be an absolute winner. Thank you for watching another road test review here on House of Cars. As always, please make sure that you are subscribed to the House of Cars channel. And then when you've done that, turn on your notifications so you don't miss the next one when it's uploaded and it's gone live. If you've enjoyed this week's review of the Honda Prelude, and obviously I hope you have, please give it a little thumbs up. And of course, as always, leave me your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about the cars we feature on the channel, such as Honda's new Prelude, and of course on the channel overall. And remember, if you're out there looking to buy a new car in the UK, whether it's hybrid, pure combustion engine or electric, then you'll find these full buyer reviews here on House of Cars. So it's important that you are subscribed. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you can do that, and it's very simple. It's at House of Cars 1973. And remember, whether or not it is a new car or an old car, a slow car or a fast car, a small car or a large car, you'll find them all here in the House of Cars. Thank you again for watching. Thank you so much for your continued support. I'll see you again soon.